storms are, by their very nature, they can last a long time. They can just not last long at all. They can be short-lived. But Joe, will you pass these out? I went ahead and hole punched them so that you can slip them in your book. And then I've also got a handout for after the class, just something that someone wrote on storms, two different thoughts on it that I thought was really good. And I'll explain more about that at the end of the time. This is going to be kind of audience participation as we go along. I want to get your input on this, because I've just got one perspective, and everybody else also has a perspective on this. And the only one that's got the whole picture, of course, is God. So this picture of the storm up here, that's actually Hurricane Island. And because the lights in the room are kind of bright, we can't see that the state of Florida is outlined there. And this is Ivan over the state of Florida a few years ago, taken from a satellite. And in fact, let me see if I can turn half of these off. Does that help a little?
Yeah.
Okay. Put you guys in the dark up here. You can see a little bit of the state of Florida right here. So, weathering storms. Let me just share a few things, a few observations that I want to make according to the study I did for this. And then I want us to look at Acts 27 and kind of go through that storm together. First thing, hi Stu and Edie, how are you guys? The first thing about weathering storms that I want to share with you is storms are an integral part of life. There is no way to avoid them. There is no way to get around them. And there's no way to shorten them. They're just a part of life. And they will always be there. And I get that from where Jesus talks about in Matthew 7:24 through 27. And on the second page there, there's all the scripture that I'm going to be using. And I'm going to have some of you read that out. Somebody read out that Matthew 7 passage that's on there.
Therefore, whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. And it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. And so it was, when Jesus had ended these sayings, that the people were astonished at his teaching.
This is the last thing he taught in the Sermon on the Mount that Matthew reported. The very last thing. And he didn't say if the storms come. He said they come. They come. And so we can be prepared. And it's the foundation, the right foundation. And the story that Lynn told last night about making sure the foundation was right to repair the crack, otherwise you could never get the crack repaired. Storms are an integral part of life, they will always be there. There we go. Second observation I want to make is storms strip us. That's something that storms do. They strip us and they show us what really matters. And because they show us what really matters, they also show us, therefore, what does not matter. In fact, that's what they strip, is the things that don't really matter. And they leave behind the things that really do matter. And that, that's just an observation I made. There was no real verse that went with that. But it's just, I've seen it in myself over and over, and I see it